And John said, no, don't be ridiculous. It's me, I'm the greatest. I'm greater than all of you put together. This kind of argument starts. They're disputing. Who's considered the greatest? Who's going to be the greatest? Now, why would they be arguing about that? Well, Jesus will die the next day. And I guess they're frightened and they're scared. And he's just said that one of the people sat at table with him will betray him. And I guess they're going, it won't be me. I'm the greatest disciple. Of course, I won't betray him. And they might even be thinking in the back of their minds, well, if Jesus is going away, who's going to be in charge? You know, if I'm the greatest disciple, maybe I'm going to be kind of in charge. And Jesus said as well, I'm going to my kingdom, says Jesus. So they're thinking, when Jesus is in his kingdom, I'm going to be really important. I've kind of liked the look of maybe, Asia. I could rule the whole of Asia. I mean, I'm one of Jesus' disciples. I'm the greatest, so I should get to rule over this huge country. And then it'll be different. Then people will come and they'll call me special names and bow down before me, and I'll be the most important person ever. And so this huge argument breaks out. Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? And they also want to have a go, saying, I'm the greatest disciple. No, I am. And I don't know if people did that in those days, but this is really one of those face palm moments where you just go, oh, really? Do you not get it? You see, the disciples are there. Jesus is sat there, and they're having sort of a silly argument about who's the greatest. They're bickering with one another. They all want to be the most important. Have they really not got the point? You see, Jesus says to them that they've missed the point. They've not understood what true greatness is about at all. Their whole argument is founded on a complete misunderstanding. You see, true greatness isn't like what the disciples think it's like. It's not like people telling you how wonderful you are and bowing down to you and ruling over whole countries. It's not about what you've done, about your achievements or your skills. No, true greatness, first of all, it's about serving, not about being served. And next, true greatness is a gift and not a reward. It's not something earned. Now, we're going to unpack those two things and see what Jesus says to his disciples to show them that they've missed the point. They shouldn't be arguing in the first place. And the first point is this. True greatness is not about being served. It's about serving others. Now, I guess when we think of great people, we think of people with crowns on their head, people who can tell other people what to do, and they run around. And Jesus says that. Jesus says, though, you're not to be like kings who tell people what to do and order them around and they go and do it. You're not to be like that. That's not what true greatness is. I guess the modern example might be celebrities. Got 4 celebrities here. If you can identify them, well done. I'm not sure I could, but I'm hopelessly out of date. We've got 4 celebrities, Mariah Carey, Cher, Madonna, and Katy Perry. Now, if anyone expects people to run around after them, it's these 4 women. There's some wonderful riders. That's kind of the demands they make when they go to speak in an arena or sing. So when they go to sing somewhere, they send a document ahead that says, here's what you need to do before I arrive. Here's the things that I'd like you to do for me. And they really do it for people to run out of them. So Mariah Carey demands Cristal champagne, that's £150 a bottle at least, and bendy straws to drink it with. 2 air purifiers, not 1. A personal assistant to throw away her bubble gum. Another personal assistant to help her on staircases, and nothing else. Sofas in dark colours with no busy patterns. The room must be exactly 24 degrees, contain 2 dozen white roses, and multiple vanilla aromatherapy candles. That's her demand. And people do it. I mean, of course they do, because otherwise Mariah Carey wouldn't come and sing. Cher has an entire room for her wigs. They're quite big wigs. Madonna demands 200 people in her entourage, 200, including personal chefs, yoga instructors, 30 bodyguards, an on-site dry cleaner, as well as a vegan food chef. She's not a vegan, but she likes to have vegan food just in case. 20 international phone lines. How many calls can you make at once? Lilies, light pink, all white roses cut to precisely 6 inches. You think that's demanding? Katy Perry has a 45-page rider. 45 pages of demands for anywhere she goes to sing. Her room must include 2 cream-coloured egg chairs, 1 with a coordinating ottoman, a refrigerator with a glass door, ornate French lamps, someone to wash and cut her fruit and vegetables, and nothing else, and no one on staff is allowed to speak to her. That's part of her demands. It runs 45 pages, so there's much more in there, but there's some of the highlights for you. Now, we might listen to that and think, that's silly. But you see, these are the people that lots of people consider great. They've really made it, haven't they? Because they can tell people what to do, and they do it. Look at the people we put at the top of our food chain. The people we say, wow, they've really achieved something. And they lord it over people. They expect people to run around after them. They expect to have someone to look after their bubble gum and throw it in the bin, someone to help them upstairs, someone to dry clean their wigs or whatever it was that Cher had. Now, Jesus says, you're not supposed to be like that. You see, when the disciples argue, they're arguing like a load of celebrities. I'm the most important. People should run around after me and do what I want them to do. I want to be important so that people will listen to me and do what I say. But Jesus says his disciples, his followers, aren't great like that. They're not great in the way that orders people around to do things. They're great because they serve. Jesus says, think it through. What am I doing right now? We're told in John, the disciples' eyewitness account of Jesus' Last Supper that night, that Jesus washed the disciples' feet. A job so dirty, there's a court case at the time because a mother wasn't allowed to wash her own son's feet because it was considered too humiliating. It was the lowest of the low, and yet Jesus gets the towel out, gets the bowl out, and washes his disciples' feet. He serves them at the table like a waiter. Jesus says, if you're going to be my follower, do you really think that means you're going to be able to walk around and have special titles and tell people what to do? If you're going to be my follower, your true greatness will mean being like me. And look what I've just done. I've just served you food. I've just washed your feet. If you want to be truly great, you need to serve and not to be served. If you are truly great, if you have any status at all in my kingdom, it will mean that you serve. See, the greater you are as a Christian, the more you've got to serve. The more you've got to serve. Now, I guess that challenges the week ahead. Are we a bit like those celebrities, expecting people to run around after us? Are we not going to serve like Jesus? For those of us who are at school, do we have kind of a hierarchy in our head? We fit into the social pecking order at a certain place, and we kind of expect people below us to run around after us. Maybe we're better than them at something, and so we think we're better than them. Will we go out of our way to say, well, if I'm better at a game or a sport than them, then I'll go out of my way to help people who are not as good as me, who have less greatness than me. If we're at the top of the school and we feel like we've just kind of arrived, I'm the most important, year 6, this is like the pinnacle of my life's achievement. Will we be willing to go out there and help younger pupils, help other students? If maybe we're at the top of a social pecking order, we're the queen bee, or whatever the equivalent is, the king bee. There isn't a king bee, is there? But we're kind of the top of our social group. We'll be willing to step out of our way to look silly and maybe to lose some respect, to help out those we consider our inferiors. Do we act a bit like Madonna or Cher or Katy Perry on our own little scale, whether it be at work or at school, expecting people to run around after us and tell us how great we are? Do we maybe feel bad because people don't run around after us and tell us how great we are? Because in the end, it's a heart problem, isn't it? Not a behavior problem. So this week, I'll begin to listen to Jesus and say, true greatness is about serving others, not about being served. And so I'm going to go and serve, even if it means I look a little bit silly. So the first point that Jesus makes is true greatness is serving and not being served. But he makes a second point. Makes the second point at that dinner. He says, true greatness is a gift, not a reward. Now, after Jesus has told them that they should serve like he serves, he goes on and tells us something slightly odd that we might find hard to understand. He says, from verses 28 and onwards, if I can find the right place, apologies. From verse 28 and onwards, Jesus says, you are those who stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, you might be going, what's all that about? Thrones? Didn't Jesus just say that greatness was serving, not being served? Now they're going to sit on thrones and judge people. But you see, the really important thing is that Jesus tells us where that greatness will come from. He will confer it on them. See, where does the true greatness come from? Is it that the disciples are super Christians and so they get some kind of high status put on thrones. No, their status, their greatness comes from Jesus. You see, I think we think of greatness like a reward. You win lots of races, and you're rewarded by being a great sportsman. You write lots of great books, and you're rewarded by being a great writer. You earn greatness, like you earn respect, people say. And that's what the disciples think, isn't it? When they're arguing about who's the greatest, they'll be pointing at all the things they've achieved, all the things that they can do. But Jesus undermines it in a moment by saying, no, true greatness comes from me. And it's a gift, not a reward. You see, the disciples are complete failures. We're all complete failures when it comes to following Jesus. If you think you're not, then you need to rethink. You see, the disciples are about to all do a runner. In fact, they chop a man's ear off, having been told again and again by Jesus' teaching to love your enemies, and then run off into the night and leave him to be killed on his own. Jesus' disciples fail him. At the Last Supper, they're having an argument with one another about who's the greatest. They're failures. Any greatness they have is not because of what they've achieved. They've achieved very little. What greatness they have comes from Jesus. Now, if we want to be truly great, the same is true for us. If you're thinking, I'm going to go away from here and become a great Christian by serving, then I'll earn my Christian greatness, you've missed the point. You can't earn Christian greatness. It's not a reward, it's a gift from Jesus. The truth is that we're all failures when it comes to following Jesus. We ignore him, we don't do what he says, we don't pray, we don't trust him all the time, every day. If we have any greatness as a Christian, it's because of what Jesus has done for us. Because Jesus was willing to die for us. He was willing to give us greatness, a place in his family, a place in heaven with him. Not because of who we are or what we've done, but because of his love as a gift. That's where true greatness comes from Jesus, not from our reward. And so what happened to the disciples? Fast forward 10 years, and I think that finally they got it in the end. At that dinner, the night before Jesus died, they were arguing about who is the greatest. But if you go forward 10 years, where are they now? They're homeless. If you met Peter, Peter's a nickname. It means Rocky. You wouldn't have called him Sir or Boss or Mr. Super Apostle or Lord. You would have called him Peter. He would have been a traveling preacher telling you about Jesus. You see, he finally understood that Christian greatness was not about what we achieve. It's not some kind of reward. It's not about ordering other people around. It's about serving. It's about giving things up to serve others, which is why there are no ranks in the Christian life. That's why you won't, I hope, call Richard and I father or reverend. We're not to be revered. You should see me first thing in the morning. Instead, we've been set apart for a role of service. You don't get promoted through the Christian life. You merely get set apart to serve in new and different ways. Because the only true Christian greatness there is the greatness that comes as a gift from Jesus. So this week, go out. Serve Jesus because of what he's given you as a gift. Serve others because of what Jesus has given you as a gift. Don't look for greatness as a reward. Look for it as a gift. Don't look for greatness as a reason for people to serve you, but look at your greatness given to you by Jesus as a reason to serve others. Shall I pray for us now? Father, thank you that you sent your Son Jesus to die for us. And so as a gift, we have the greatness of being part of your family. But Father, help us not to see that greatness as a reward for our behavior, but rather as a gift from you. And so help us to be like Jesus, who served rather than being served. May we find small, practical ways to serve those who are around us, giving up our resources, our time for them, willing to look silly in the eyes of others, to help those who need our help. In Jesus' name, amen. our next song is about Jesus again and about